Have you ever been called into the boss's office because the Azure bill's too high? It's not a nice feeling, is it? Unfortunately, it happens quite a lot, but it is very easy to avoid. I'm Warwick Leahy. I'm a senior sysadmin at SSW, and I've been a sysadmin for about 20 years, so I've been in charge of a lot of Azure subscriptions. I can tell you this happens a lot, but these are my 3 tips for how to avoid that happening to you. So the first thing is you need to have somebody who is responsible for that bill. So I call them the spend master. It needs to be somebody that's technical but also good with money. Number 2, do you just give free access to your credit card to your devs? Of course you don't. So Azure should be no different. You should be asking them to estimate the resources and then ask for approval before they create them. How do you do that, you ask? Well, you just use the Azure calculator. So they want a new virtual machine. They, simply add all the options that they want. They want, 3.5 gig of RAM and 2 cores. That's going to cost $188 a month. So they've created their estimate. What do they do then? They pop it into an email. They send it off to the spend master with all the details about the project and the cost, and ask for approval. What's the third thing you need to do? Third thing is monitor your Azure. The first part of that is you need to create a budget. So you'll always have a main budget, which is everything on your subscription. From there, you may want to put an extra budget, maybe over some resource groups that you are monitoring because you don't know what they're going to cost, or you're not 100% sure what they're going to cost. And then you need to set up some alerts. Now you can set these up to whatever you like, but at least you need to have something like, when it's actually 95% of your budget, or it's forecasted to hit 100% of your budget, it emails you and lets you know. Okay, that's great. Alright, so you've now received an alert to say you're over budget. What's the first thing your boss is going to ask you to do? Well, what can I turn off? Now, there's no super simple way to do that in Azure. So the best way I find is to put tags on all your resources. So I set up a policy in Azure to make sure that there's a cost category on each resource that is core, the things that are critical to your business, value add, which is the things that add value to the business, and the dev test things, the things you could turn off which wouldn't affect the operation of your business at all. Now that's okay when you receive an alert, but I think you should be monitoring it a little bit more frequently than just when you already receive an alert. So I like to run a report every fortnight which has that cost category tag and daily selected, and that just shows me every fortnight if there's a spike. Now you could do that weekly, or daily, or monthly. Daily's certainly too frequent. Daily would give you overload. You just stop noticing it. Weekly, I think, doesn't show the trends, so it doesn't show you if it's gradually going up or it's not as easy to see. So for me, fortnightly is the ideal time period, but what do you think? Leave me a comment. Once you've got this sort of report, you can see then if there's a spike, you can very easily track down what resource it was. You can speak to the developers that were responsible. You can maybe shut it down before it's actually cost you too much. Otherwise, if it's monthly, it could happen on day 2, and by the time you see it, it's now the end of the month and you've already been paying for that resource for 28 days. Okay, so that's my 3 tips for how to monitor your Azure costs the best way. If you have any feedback, please leave it in the comments below, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks.